Hi there, and welcome to the Hospitality Hub, a brand new podcast from IMI Switzerland. IMI is one of the world's leading hospitality schools, situated in Lucerne in the very heart of Switzerland. In this podcast, we're really looking forward to bringing you some of the most relevant and current voices from the industry. We'll be speaking to our current students, our faculty, alumni, and a range of special guests. And in this way, we hope to give you the latest trends, insights, and projections for the future of this fast-growing and dynamic industry. In this very first episode of the pod, we're really excited to bring you a conversation with our Malaysian alumnus, Darren Teoh. Since graduating from IMI, Darren has gone on to open a highly successful restaurant, Dewakan, in his home country. And the restaurant recently had the incredible honour of becoming Malaysia's first 2 Michelin-starred restaurant. So it was really great to get his insight into all things culinary arts, and a fantastic opportunity for our students to be able to interact directly with him and be inspired as to what their future careers could look like. So without further ado, let me hand you over to an extract of the conversation between Darren and our students.
Thank you for having me. My name is Darren, and I'm the chef of a small little restaurant in Kuala Lumpur called Dewakan. We have been now in operations for 9 years. In March was our 9th year. And during this time, we have been one of Malaysia and Asia's most prominent restaurants, being featured in the Asia 50 Best, and the only restaurant to have made it to the 50 from Malaysia, and consistently trying to do different things with indigenous produce in our country. So a lot of what we do is really just trying to take back the narrative of what cooking and what cuisine is to us, and trying not to apply a traditional sense or a traditional lens to it, but to try and be a bit more creative and a bit more non-lateral, and just to keep it exciting for us. So in a nutshell, that's really what we do. My career has been a little bit not your typical chef career. I started cooking. Well, I went to college, just as you are. I finished a degree in hospitality and catering, and then I went to Singapore, where I worked for a very prominent French restaurant there called Les Amis, and the group of restaurants. And within that group, I moved into I did 2 fine dining restaurants and 1 bistro restaurant. And then for some very personal reasons, I had to move back to Kuala Lumpur from Singapore, and that is when I started teaching. And I taught culinary arts in a partner university for IMI, at that time called KDU. And I taught there for a good amount of time. And during this time, I did quite a few things. I wrote a book. I wrote a recipe book. I did my MBA. I did a couple of stagiaires around Europe. So it was very exciting for me to have explored this, which I would not have normally done if I had stayed in the kitchen all the time. And then the itch started to grow, and I thought that I had a good business concept, and I had a good restaurant concept, and I decided to open Dewakan. But the university also saw a good opportunity to try something different, in which they offered to fund the restaurant. And so Dewakan opened in the university campus of KDU in Glenmarie, and we stayed there for about 4 years. We got onto the 50 best restaurant list in 2019, and in that same year we closed the restaurant in the campus, and we reopened up at NASA Tower in the middle of the city. And then 3 months after that, COVID happened. We stayed open throughout the years. We didn't fire anyone. We did everything that we could to survive. And then when we reopened, I think it was in 21 or 22 that we got back onto the list. And then a few years after that, I think in 22 we got our first star, and last year we got our second star.
Thanks, Darren. That's a really great overview of your career to date. I think what's really interesting about your restaurant concept is your commitment to locality and how you've managed to be successful not through taking European concepts and ingredients or dishes to the Asian market, but actually celebrating your Malaysian culture, ingredients, and heritage. Thinking now a little bit about the philosophy behind the restaurant. Obviously, you've been at IMI. You know how international we are, how many different cultures we have, and how we like to celebrate those cultures in both the school events and also in the kitchen, in the food we prepare. So yeah, maybe you could tell us a little bit about the internationalism that you experienced at the school, but also how now with the restaurant you're aiming to promote the local culture and the local ingredients through the dishes you create.
Well, I mean, I think it's encouraging. I mean, especially a place like IMI, which has such a diverse population. I mean, I remember being there and having contact with people from different parts of Russia, with Turkish, with different parts from the continent of Africa, and of course with the Asians there. So it was very cacophonous. When you sit in the cafeteria and you just hear different people speaking differently, and so it's I think what was really interesting about being at IMI was that sort of like multicultural diversity. And I think that it's really interesting that a lot of people brought so much of IMI back with them. I know I did, especially with my MBA, with the MBA program. It really did set me up for a very different perspective with regards to how we approach the hospitality industry, which is kind of almost dichotomous, right? You have hospitality on one end, which tends to be very, nourishing. It's about nurturing. It's about being. It's about giving. It's about quite selfless acts. And then on the other hand, you have industry, which needs to be precise, and it needs to be almost sometimes the word sounds very sterile. And so it's very dichotomous, and so I think what we do as a living is quite interesting, and even if it is paradoxical,
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point about bringing keeping the warmth and the generosity of hospitality in a business environment where ultimately it's also about making money. This is definitely something we try and instill in our students, the balance between the two. Obviously, you've had a long career now to get closer to perfecting that balance. But looking or thinking back maybe to your earlier days in the kitchen, maybe you could share with the students some of the challenges, the kind of day-to-day problems that you may have faced and overcome, which obviously will be very relevant to them as they go out into the industry in the next few years.
Man, I'll tell you that for the first 2 to 3 years, every day was a challenging experience. Every day was a hard experience. And I think if you speak to many chefs who've been in the industry long enough, they'll tell you the same thing. And the first few years were painful. So I had gotten a job in this restaurant called Les Amis in Singapore. They're 3 stars now. What happened was on my first day, I just fresh out of college, and I was one of the top students at college, and you really think that you can cook. And on the first day, I was at a station, and my chef said, "Okay, quickly saute these mushrooms." And I started with a coal pan, and when the pan, it was a cast iron pan, and it was on the fire. I had not waited for it to heat up, and I just put the mushrooms down. And as it started to heat up, it started to boil. All of these, the water was coming out, and from across the stove, the chef de cuisine, his name was Justin Quack, and he was a very, very hard chef. He turned around and he saw that happening, and he said, "Boy, you know how to cook." And out of sheer stupidity and fear, I just said yes, thinking that I was already doing something wrong. And he came right to the next of me, and he slapped me on the back of my head.
Oh, wow.
And under normal circumstances, I never allow anyone to touch me. I used to have quite a temper, but I was so fearful, and that really, that's been seared into my mind for since forever. And I remember it like it was yesterday. It was truly a fearful moment, and that was just my first day. So can you imagine every other day, every other moment after that was was really a challenge.
Okay, that sounds like a tough first day at the office. You've clearly come a long way since then, and hopefully the industry has as well. Thinking about your recent incredible success with the first Malaysian 2 Michelin starred restaurant, was that always the aim at the start of your career? Did you set out thinking I want to be a Michelin starred chef, or was it more I want to be the best chef I can be, and then obviously the accolades and the awards come as a result of that?
I've been cooking for a long time, and so when you're younger, you look at things like the stars, and you look at all of these accolades, and you think like this would be the degree by which you deem yourself successful or not. And those are very good things to work towards, because it does take you along different lines. But for many years, for many years after that, like I think for many years from now, I don't think I've ever wanted to have a Michelin star restaurant. I think we have to recognize the Michelin star and every other accolade for what it is. They are merely a degree of reflection of the work that you do. But more importantly than that, they are a business tool. It helps you to fulfill a function, which is to keep your restaurant busy. I mean, many of us have seen restaurants from our own homes, in our own areas, that do extremely well without any accolades. And they don't need a star, or they don't need to be on a 50 best, or they don't need to be on an OAD list or anything like that. They don't need like a Zagat or a Goemio, but they're busy. And essentially what we do as a restaurant is to nurture people. We give them food, right? And in exchange, they give us money for our services. It's good to have that sort of aspiration, but it's even better to know when to tell the difference between what is narcissism and what is egoistical, and what helps you fulfill a function and helps you fulfill an objective.
And there we come to the end of our very first Hospitality Hub podcast. A big thank you to Darren for taking the time to talk to us and talking to our students today. And I think you'll agree it was a fantastic insight into how to become successful in what is probably one of the world's most challenging industries. So that was episode 1 of the Hospitality Hub. In episode 2, we're going down a slightly different direction. We're going to be looking at the world of sustainability and tourism. Specifically the challenges facing the industry in the post-COVID environment. We're going to bring a couple of our current students in to debate this topic, and we hope that you guys will tune in and enjoy their slightly contrasting opinions on the future shape of tourism. So make sure you stay tuned to our feed, so you can see all the latest episodes as they drop, and we will get episode 2 with you as soon as possible. You can follow all the school's social media channels to get the latest events and activities that our students enjoy on a weekly basis. And we can't wait to carry on delving into the wonderful world of hospitality with you throughout this series.